What is up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys have yourselves a great weekend. We are back with another episode review of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. This is season 3, episode 7, and we're about 3 more weeks left of season 3. I can't believe how quickly it's actually gone by, but I I definitely would say like this one was probably my favorite of season 3. I would definitely say it's up there with like um top five. I have to think of my top 5 favorite episodes of season of the 3 seasons of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. But like this episode was, it was words can't come to mind what I thought about this episode. But before we get into it, later on tonight on the gaming channel, we will be continuing our Skyrim series, and then on Saturday we'll be having a stream Saturday night, just going over a lot of gaming stuff on the gaming channel as well. We recently got a bunch of new game trailers and stuff like that, so we're going to go over that and talk about it on the gaming channel. But other than that, let's jump into episode 7 of Strange New World season 3. And what are the things? So obviously, this is I believe the title was "This is Starfleet," or "What is Starfleet?" And this is basically a documentary style episode. We've got Erica Ortega's brother, uh, Beto Beto Ortega's. He is kind of like, and we've seen him a couple of times with his camera and stuff and doing stuff with like recording and stuff like that. And so I love this episode because it definitely felt much like just a documentary. Now there is an underlying thing going on with this episode. That's part of the main episode that involves Beto, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. But we kind of just see him going through, talking to different Starfleet officers, Spock, Una, or to his, Una, not Una, Uhura, La'an, Pike, and we're just seeing him go through and talk, just interviewing them, like what's it like being in Starfleet, things like that. And there are some questions that Beto is putting out there too that starts to kind of like maybe back in your mind. It's like, why is he asking these questions? Because he was talking about like what is Starfleet? Because for instance, he talks about the Enterprise. Side note, there's a really cool shot of watching the Enterprise light power on and light up. I thought that was very cool, and I very much loved that. But he talks about what is Starfleet, and one of the things, for example, he uses like the Enterprise. They call it a starship, but what's the difference between a starship and a warship? And you see him going around and talking with different crews. Like for instance, he talks to La'an. She is the head of security and tactical, and he talks about like you know like what do you do if you're attacked? La'an's like defend yourself, that kind of thing. We hope not to use these weapons. Enterprise's weapons are mainly built for defense, but if we need to defend ourselves, we basically will defend ourselves. And even Erica kind of echoes the same sentiment where you're talking, you're in space. Anything could happen. It'd be crazy not to have weapons and stuff like that. Now, this whole documentary style thing has been declassified for transparency, basically. And so Enterprise's mission is there's 2 planets that kind of at war with each other. Enterprise's job is to go and transport a creature called the Jakari from one location to another location. And we come to find out that the Jakari is a weapon, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. And so By the way, that design, oh, it looks so, watching it rise up out of the ocean like we did, was so beautiful to watch and see. But during the briefing, because one of the questions Beto asked, just periodically throughout the episode is, you know, basically, is there an order that you don't agree with, or like, are there things about Starfleet that you don't agree with that they do? One of the things with Beto is, why are you transporting a weapon in the middle of a war? And there are some conversations about, the Klingons are maybe also involved in that kind of thing. Um, but a lot of it is classified. They can't, particularly with Pike and Una, a lot of this classified that they can't really give out information. Now, obviously, they know what's going on. Um, but it was just so, like, it's just so interesting, because we kind of seen this stuff before, but not in this lens, not through the lens of like a camera, where, like, obviously we've seen, for instance, earlier in the season, Ortega's basically disobeying order. We've seen a little bit snips of this. Um, but so they go and they get ready to transport the Chikari to its destination, when I believe like a rogue ship comes out of nowhere, opens fire on it, and ultimately they're killed, and things like, and they're all killed but one. She's rushed out. She's been on the Enterprise. Chaplain Vega try to save her, but ultimately she succumbs to her injuries, and she talks about how they were wrong. It needs to be destroyed. That kind of thing. Talk about the Jakari, and it does something too in the episode where it unleashes a powerful radiation burst that actually bothers Spock a little bit, because Spock mentions that he could like feel its emotions and things like that. And he does, like, there's a mission that goes where it's him, Chapel, and uh Ahura onto a shuttle, the Galileo, to try to communicate with it, and it's maybe seems to be working, but another ship comes in, and it causes issues, which ultimately results in Spock and Chapel getting injured. This episode was mainly more of a horror episode, which I really really enjoyed, um, because she is actively trying to convince you know Pike that we need to continue to try to communicate with it, and because, like, obviously her job is communications, harmonics, music, all that kind of stuff. She's figuring out that she can maybe communicate with it, and we see it later on in the episode where she basically volunteers to put on a neural device to try to connect with the Jakari. And you see it, she's like, this is what I've been training to, communications with new species and things like that, and she's able to communicate with it. There is an interesting just throughout the action of the episode, we see Beto again. He is just talking with everybody. He talks with Mbanga, and Beto basically is like, have you killed anyone? Essentially speaking of which, and he's just talking. Mbanga's like, he's a doctor. His job is to save his patients and stuff like that. But if he needs to defend himself, then he will defend himself. But ultimately, his job is to kind of help and heal people. And we see like some of like his where he's been, because he was a field surgeon in the Klingon War. And we see like a lot of Mbanga's actions are redacted, especially one that essentially ties back into a previous episode, but also ties into an episode last season dealing with the Butcher of Jagal. And there's an interesting little moment here, because season two, it was very much unclear whether or not Mbanga killed uh, Senator Ra or Ambassador Ra. It was very much unclear. It was behind like a sheeted, blurry glass or whatever. to hide for effect to essentially hide whether or not he did it. This season, we do get the confirmation that yes, Mbenga did kill him, which kind of erases that little mystery right there. But in this episode, there's a moment where Beto talks about, or he asks, have you ever deleted recordings from sickbay? And Mbenga is just like, it's just, quiet. And he just basically says he doesn't recall. And I was like, okay, that seems that kind of ties in right there. So that kind of ties in with what we saw in the previous episode with the zombies, and then last season. So that was an interesting thing right there. So basically, Uhura is able to communicate with the Chitauri, and what we come to find out is that one of the warring factions has basically turned the Chitauri into a weapon. They have amplified its aggression, its attack, everything. They've caused it to be aggressive, and they're going to use it as a weapon. But the Chitauri is able to communicate with Uhura, and basically it's just just end it for me. And so the plan is they're going to get its attention, because it captured a ship at the moment, but it's going to get its attention, and they're going to fly it to the nearest sun in the system, and it's basically going to go out. The Chitauri is going to go out on its own terms, but before that happens, it mentions that the world that it came from has children, and they need protected. And Pike reassures to Uhura to let the Chitauri know that I promise to make sure that your children are protected and things like that. And it is such a sad. It's really sad to watch, and it just we're just watching it fly directly into a sun, and like it was just really really sad to watch. But now with Beto, and Uhura brings this up towards the end of the episode, is that the way Beto was asking questions throughout the episode is almost as if he was trying to prove a point. He was essentially mad at Starfleet because of Erica getting captured and getting hurt and almost losing her life when they encountered the Gorn. And so Uhura, just chats with him about it. Like she just says, look, me and Erica, we chose Starfleet, and this is more of a horror story because we get a little bit more with her, because we also learned, because one of the questions that she was like, did you have any friends at the academy? She mentions one of her friends, Elena Cho. She said they were very close friends at the academy, but then we also learned that she was basically killed on the Cayuga with the encounter of the Gorn at the end of season 2. And the look on Uhura's face because she probably did not realize that, because obviously she even mentions like she didn't go through the entire ship manifest to know the names of everybody and things like that. And that was just such a it's so much. There's so many like just like parts in here that really hits you in the feelings. It's just like they really did a good job. Now, like last episode, the problem with I think it was last episode. The problem was it's like they and Trek Culture mentioned this as well. Whereas with Starfleet not Starfleet Academy, but Strange New Worlds, and particularly this season, really last episode, is like they have moments where they have you right where you are, whether it's tension in the moment with the tension, emotions, and then they do kind of like a little small joke and it kind of breaks it. This episode, you really didn't get that. There was really no funny joking matter or funny quip or anything really all that much in this episode. And I think it really really helped. It's just the impact of how much of a serious episode this is. And you kind of hear at the end basically what is Starfleet. They're explorers, they're the peacemakers, yada yada yada, the everything. And you do get to see a different side. You see Pike playing the guitar, you see everybody having a dinner in Pike's quarters. I think Patel was there as well at the end. But overall, a really, really good episode. This is probably my favorite episode of season 3 up to this point, and it was really good. It was really good. So that is basically my quick little review of episode 7. But guys, tell me what you think. If you are watching on Rumble or the Nerd Talk podcast channel, be sure to hit like, subscribe, follow, whatever. And then, like I said, later on tonight, we're going to be doing another Skyrim stream. And then tomorrow, we're doing a kind of a recap hangout stream, just catching up on all the gaming information that we have gotten this past week. But other than that, guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.